Hi everyone. So today I'm going to present my assignment of T8. So it's basically constitutes of test plan, then the equivalence part testing, boundary value analysis, and the basic difference between smoke testing and sanitary testing. So let's move on to the first question, that is test plan. So here is the basic overview of the test plan. That is the high level design of the test plan. So first of all, the first point, let me give a high level overview of the test plan. That is first one. So the test plan basically consists of all the activities that a tester that a testing usually that the testing team does, starting from the requirement analysis till the deployment of the software in the client side. The whole procedure is depicted with a high level overview in the test plan. Okay. So first of all, the first one is scope. The scope, we define what functions we test and what functions we do not test. For example, first, for any web application, we will be testing its GUI components, that is the UI testing or GUI testing. So that will be under the scope of the scope of the test plan. And the functions that we are not going to test, like performance testing, stress testing, and like whether the web application supports virus scanning, any ad blocker, these things are out of scope, okay, for the application. So that was about the first point, scope. And next is test approach. So test approach consists of what is the basic testing approach that we use in our testing team, that is written inside the test approach. That is the roles and responsibilities, that is which person is assigned as a QA manager, which does the job of a QA tester, which one does the job of automation, along with their name and their responsibilities. These things are mentioned in roles and responsibilities. Then in the entry criteria, the criteria that is need to be satisfied from the developer side, so that the product can be taken for testing, basically is written inside that entry criteria. That is the features or the model should be ready, and even if the features are not ready, the design should be ready, and the QA should have a proper understanding of the requirement specifications, and this kind of things, like the testing team and like the testing team must be aware of the requirement specifications of the software, and this comes under the entry criteria. And the exit criteria, under the then in the exit criteria, when we can say the product or the software can be deployed into the client site, that is defined inside the exit criteria. Whenever we can launch the application, or we can say that the application is ready to be launched, when it doesn't have any critical or any blocker bug that impacts the software business flow, at that time we can say that we can launch the product. So that basically is defined in the exit criteria. And whenever and also few of the constraints, like when we are out of schedule, or the budget has been achieved, or the budget had been spent spend there. So that time also we can say we can do the smoke testing and do exit criteria. And that, so let's move on to the next one, that is testing strategy. Under the testing strategy, whatever strategy that strategy means kind of what kind of testing we are going to do, and what all activities we are going to do inside the testing. That whole flow constitute the testing strategy. That is the whole testing activities flow, that is starting from requirement gathering, requirement analysis, then writing the test flow, then writing the test plan, then identifying the test scenarios, then writing the documentation of the test cases, that is writing of all the test cases to have maximum coverage, then executing the test cases, then reporting the bugs if any bugs occurs, then fixing the bugs, then in the next build, and then retesting the application that it doesn't have any critical or blocker bug. And that's this whole flow is under the testing activities. That is the first point on the testing strategy. And the next is testing types. That what all kind of testing what all kind of testing we support, that is also refined under testing strategy, like functional testing, that is the system or the software behaves as per the requirement specification. That is functional testing, testing all the functionalities of the application with respect to the requirement specification. That is functional testing. And then smoke testing, sanity testing, smoke testing all the critical major functionalities of the application. Then sanity testing, testing all the bugs has been fixed, that is sanity testing. Then this all kind of testing that we are going to perform in our software, that is written inside the testing strategy. Everything, API testing, everything we can include inside it. Then I have given only the overall high level concepts of those things. It's not possible to include all those things in a single video. Okay, so the next one is test environment. Our test plans should include, as the test plan is usually written by a senior tester, so it includes all critical details, all not critical, but exact what is all necessary details about the testing activity or the testing flow, about the whole testing process. It includes all the necessary details about the testing process in for the that is used in the software company. Okay, so next one is test environment. Test environment and test tools, those which is used in the for testing of the particular application is defined inside test environment, like which all what will be the test environment, which all tools we are going to use, like Jira for defect management, and which tool we are going to use for writing test cases, and we are going to include all those things inside these things that inside the test environment. And which tools means which automation tools we are going to use, and including a test environment. Test environment means our application has been tested for which browsers like Safari, Opera, many so browsers are available, but for the major browsers we need to test our application that is supporting the major widely used browsers like Opera, Chrome, Firefox, etc. This constitute the browser part. Then for versions we can include the versions here also, for which version it's our test application is supporting which version, and which it does, and all these things for which version, which device. We can test for different operating systems like Android, Windows, Mac, etc. And we can test for different mobile browsers like UC browser, Mozilla, and Safari, etc. And we can test for different mobile devices like Motorola, Vivo, Oppo, this iPhone, Android phones, etc. All these things are defined inside test environment. Then the next one is after the testing is done, the main part constitute the bug reporting. So for the bug, we can define the bug severity or priority definition, that which bug, for example, what is the definition that we are following for our application, like critical is given priority 1, critical bugs, those are critical bugs. Then we have blocker bugs. The blocker bugs are those which hamper the business flow of the software, and those are assigned priority 1. And then the critical bug are assigned priority 2. These are the examples I am giving that we are using for our software. It differs for different from different software teams. Just for understanding purpose, I'm giving examples that we are using in our team. Okay, so then a critical bug is given priority 2. That is like it doesn't means it, however, it doesn't block the system. It's not a showstopper, but it however affect the business flow of the main business flow of the software. So that is all about the fifth point, that is bug severity definition. Then now in the test plan, we also need to include that what all deliverables we will be giving to the client to ensure him that we have tested the application with respect to in compliance with, or we can say in compliance with the user requirements. So the deliverables include what all things we will be giving from the testing team, like test case document, then test plan, then bug document, bug reporting documents, etc. Then the last one is risk and assumptions and the mitigation plan. That is what all risk and assumption we have assumed in the whole testing process. Like always this kind of risk are there, that the developer team may not have released the release notes with each build to the testing team. So testing team may not be aware of the changes or the new features that has been added. And like this kind of this risk is always there, this kind of risk are always there. And like it may happen that the team might be lesser in number, so in that case no review of the test cases might have occurred. So these all those things. And the test last but not the least is like the developer and the tester may be using the same test environment, and it always happens that we may not have to go for cross-browser testing, and even if we have tested it on our test, whatever we have included in our test environment, but we have not tested for some other browsers, it may have any sort of bug or any sort of UI related problem may occur in different browser. So this type of risk are always there. We include all those things in risk and assumptions, and along with that we can also give the mitigation plan for that. So that was all about the test plan. So let's move on to the next one, that is equivalence partitioning. So equivalence partitioning is basically a black box technique, black box testing technique. That is, we don't go into the code part. From the high level only, we test the application, okay, with respect to the user requirements. Then that is, suppose for explaining equivalence partitioning, I have taken an example that let's say we have a gym software that allows people between age 16 to 60. So here I can test for 100. Let's make an assumption that people up to 100 age will be applying for the gym. So whenever it's not possible that I will test for all 100 values. If time permits, we can, but as always less time is there for testing, so we should do efficient testing. That is writing less number of test cases to have maximum test coverage. So there we take help of equivalence partitioning. That is by partition, making the valid and invalid partitions of the input value. We can achieve better test coverage and with less number of test cases. So we will be, so here I will be dividing it into 3 partitions. One will be from 0 to 15. The second will be, or we can say that I have first mentioned less than 16. That will be consisting of 0 to 15. This is one partition, that is an invalid partition. Okay. Then the next one is 16 to 60, and that is a valid partition. And the next one then is from greater than 60 till 100. That is also an invalid partition. So I need not to test the application for the whole partition. I can also it's an assumption that if we test for a one value in a partition, then the same result will be there for all the values in the partition. That is the basic assumption in a equivalence partitioning technique. So for the first invalid partition, that is between 0 to 15, I can test for a value and pass the test case. And so for the valid partition, I can test for a value, let's say 17 or 18 or 59 or 57, and any one value, and I can test the and I can pass the test case. Then in the third one, that is also invalid partition, I can test for any value that is greater than 60, like let's say 65, and I can pass the test case for the third partition also. So here, instead of testing the 100 values, I will be testing only 3 values, and that is the major objective of equivalence partitioning, that is reducing the number of test cases by dividing the input values into valid and invalid partitions in order to have maximum test coverage. So we can now move on to boundary value analysis. Boundary value analysis arised from equivalence partitioning. So I have mentioned equivalence partitioning first in my slide. Let's then move on to, here I will be giving a small overview that why we need boundary value analysis. Is that here I have tested for 16 and I have tested for 60. But what if the customer age is 60, or what if the customer age is 16? I haven't tested for this value. Okay, so for that I need boundary value analysis. So from here we can know that why we need boundary value analysis. So let's move on to boundary value analysis. Okay, so considering the same Zim example, Zim software example, that here I will be having the boundary at 16, and one is at 16 and the other is at 60. So making +1 and -1 at both the side, I have 16, 17, 59, 60. These are all boundary conditions. Okay, so that is making +1 and -1 on both the sides, on both the boundary values. So here again I will be having the boundary valid boundary conditions, like out of those 4 values, 16, 17, 59, 60, these are all, the first one is all valid boundary conditions, and the second one is invalid boundary conditions, is 15 and 61. That is, it won't be, the software won't be allowing people having age less than 16 and having age greater than 60. And that is, so for I can check with the boundary values in this example. Okay, so I can check for the boundary values, is that for if the age is, suppose that I haven't I forgot to mention that, suppose let's say the requirement will be age should be greater than, age should be greater than or equal to 16, and age should be less than or equal to 60. For that I will be doing boundary value analysis. So my boundary conditions will be 16, 17, 59, 60. Okay, and my invalid boundary conditions will be 15 and 61, as I mentioned. Okay, so that was all about boundary value analysis. By testing at those points only, I decided that I got the major test coverage. Okay, so next one is smoke testing and sanity testing. So smoke testing and sanity testing, let's take an example that in a software, in a banking software, first of all, the whole software cannot software for a banking software is a very big software. Okay, the whole software we cannot, any real-time software, big software, real-time software having major having millions of customer base can't be designed in a single build. Okay, so for in the first build, let's say we gave all the major functionalities like account opening, account deposit, withdrawal, etc. All the major functionalities that we do in a banking system, like I mentioned before, those are given in the build one, and it is launched. Okay, then when it's launched, so in the after, as soon as we got the build one, so as a tester, we will be doing the smoke testing. That is the testing the major functions of the application in compliance with the user requirements. That is that is smoke testing. Okay, so after passing passing the smoke testing phase, the other things, the other testing procedure we can carry on with other testing procedure. And let's say in the build 2 again we give some minor bug and and the build 2 comes with the other new features like having credit card, debit card, this sort of functionalities are given, checkbook issuing, and this kind of functionalities are incorporated into the build 2 along with minor bug changes. Okay, that we have given in the minor bug fixing that we have given in for the build 1. So for the as soon as the build 2 arrives, as it will be having a patch, the patch where we have fixed the bug that I'm calling as a patch. So for that we do sanity testing. Okay, whenever a build arrives, to ensure that it is bug free or the bugs has been fixed correctly, we do sanity testing. Then so we can say that sanity testing is a subset of regression testing, that the fixed part hasn't impacted the other part or the major functionality of the application. Then and we can say that smoke testing is a subset of user acceptance testing. Okay. Then that is the major high level difference between smoke testing and sanity testing. So whenever any patch will be there, we will be, or any builds arrives with fixing of bug, we do sanity testing. Okay, to ensure that the bug has been fixed correctly. Then again doing all those testing, and then again we will be doing your smoke testing, that is testing the major critical functionalities of the application. This is the major difference between smoke and sanity. Hope I have given a clear overview between all the things that I have covered. That's all for day 8. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.